Hi. So my question is,
Can you hear?
say you are consistently focusing on the presence of something, and you're doing it for a while, and then you get to a point where you know, like nothing else can be. You get an inspired action to go and do something, and you know you have to go do it. And then when you go, it doesn't net you the result that you knew or expected. I had that happen to me last week, and I felt that way about something else, and I made plans and made arrangements while I felt that way. I felt inspired and knowing. And so now when I do it, I feel like I hope it goes that way. I feel a little resistance now.
This is the way you figure it out. In other words, when you deliberately focus on something and consciously pay attention to how that focus feels, and then you notice the way the grid fills in, which gives you stronger evidence of how you feel. That's how you get better and better at focusing yourself into the feeling that you want that will bring the manifestation that you want. Here's another way of looking at this. When someone has a manifestation, whether it's something that happens in what you call your real life or even a dream, we like to ask, how did it feel when it happened? Whether it's something wanted or unwanted, how did it feel? And it's usually very easy for the person to describe how this manifestation felt. And then we say, now you're going to start noticing things in your life experience where you've been feeling that way. Because you've been feeling that way and not even knowing you've been feeling that way. But now it's manifested, it's really amplifying what you're feeling, which is the way you kind of sift and sort to sort of work the bugs out of what you've got going on vibrationally.
Because I was wondering.
But before you go there, we just want to stick this in because this is a really important thing. When we say work the bugs out of it, there's no getting to the bottom of what's hindering. There's no getting to the bottom of what's hindering. If you're saying, well, it was almost right except for that, except for that, except for that, you're amplifying the part you don't want and you're holding it active, so it's going to keep showing up in other things. So we have to go back to the analogy. I've fallen out of an airplane. I don't have a parachute. What should I do? Hang on, it'll be over. Just let that play itself out.
Okay.
And don't try to figure out how it happened or why it happened or what you did wrong or what you should do to fix it.
Okay.
Just let it play itself out, because now you have new knowledge that that's not the vibration that you want to continue to encourage. And here's the most important thing. When you have conscious awareness that that's not the vibration that you want to continue to encourage, what's that really telling you? There's another vibration that I do want to encourage. Because you can't not encourage that vibration that you're not wanting to encourage without encouraging it. So it's like picking something else, and that's what we introduced into this conversation. Get out ahead of manifestations by laying the new pipes. Get out ahead of manifestations by thinking about the disc that you're on earlier in the day. Let's start in another place. So let's say there are 4 things that you've really been wanting. One of them is a really significant increase in your finances. Another is a really significant increase in a wonderful relationship. The other is a really significant increase in the way you feel in your physical body. And the other is a really significant increase in a specific relationship with a specific person that, let's say, it isn't going very well. So there's those 4 things. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
So there's those 4 things that are really important to you. But those are not the only 4 things that you're thinking about. Those are just 4 really important things that you're thinking about. And those 4 things, you've already practiced a disc on each one of them.
Okay.
Some of them are on the same disc. In fact, all of them are on the same disc, but that's sort of beside the point. You've practiced yourself into a vibrational frequency, so you have habits of thoughts and beliefs, and you have the disc that you choose easily because the momentum of them keeps you choosing them. But now you've been listening to us, and we have convinced you that you've put all of those requests, step 1, into the vortex, right, and that Source and Law of Attraction have lined them all up, and so they're ripe and ready to be revealed to you, and that now your job is not to focus upon number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, but number 5, which is the easiest thing for you to feel good about, which is that pet, or that waterfall in the park, or that ocean that's easy to look at. Something that takes you to a high-flying, that piece of music that makes your heart soar every time you hear it. Something that feels completely off the subject of any of those other things, but it feels good every time you think about it. So our assignment to you is think about that and that only, and those other 4 things will all come into your grid.
Okay.
Because you didn't give them in their current state any airtime. So you didn't continue the momentum that was preventing them from flowing to you. Instead, you thought about something entirely off the subject of all of those, and you used that as your excuse, as your reason. So you're on the disc, you're on the disc, you're on the disc. Before you know it, other good feeling things are too, until you're distracted from the things that haven't been working out, and your attention is upon more that is working out, and every single thing that's in your vortex that you want has to start flowing into your grid. You'll realize it. You will realize it. You will see it. You will follow the path of least resistance. It all will show up. It is our promise to you when you're least expecting it. And the reason we say when you're least expecting it, that's not the perfect word. When you're least focusing upon the absence of it.
Right.
When you're not beating the drum of where is it, when you're not asking the question, that's when the answer comes. When you're not focused upon the problem, that's when the solution comes. As long as you're focused upon the problem or the question, the solution, the answer cannot come. They're different frequencies. So you got to find some subject that isn't a problem, some subject that isn't a question, and use it as your reason to focus. And as you focus upon that, then you practice that high-flying vibration, and that becomes the vibrational expectation of you. And then all those things that are in the vortex on all those other subjects flow into your experience. That's the best we've ever said it. Did you get it?
I'm seeing them I'm seeing them.
But it feels weird. It feels counterintuitive to you. We want to change the expression on Esther's face. We started saying, to you humans. But we didn't. That's not the way we wanted that to come out. That's not the way we wanted it to come out at all. You keep thinking that the way to the solution is grinding the problem down. We'll just whittle the problem down. You don't realize you're keeping the momentum of the problem active. You see, you got to get off of it. That's why step 1 is brief. Get off of it. Step 2 is already taken care of, and do anything you can to be on step 3, and that is meditate and take walks in places that are pleasing to you, and be with people that are fun to be with, and listen to music if it pleases you, and eat food that is pleasing to you while you're having the experience of it. In other words, you've stopped pampering yourself in your striving for success and in your lack of personal care to the way you feel. You've got these holding patterns going on, and your pressure tank's just building up. And then it feels like same old, same old. Same old, same old. Yeah.
So if you feel like you know, and then you take an action and it doesn't produce the results at that time, is that just like taking score too soon?
Yes, it is. Well, what happens is it's trying to feel your own grid in. But we know what you mean.
Okay.
Sometimes you just feel an impulse to do something.
Yeah.
And we want you to do the impulse because the impulse to do something felt good,
Right.
not with the ulterior motive that doing this impulse is going to be the final thing that I have to do in order to get across the finish line.
Okay.
If you're following your impulse, then you're just going to have endless good feeling impulses, not with some ulterior motive of getting someplace you're not, because the ulterior motive of getting someplace you're not reactivates the I'm not getting there thing and puts you on a different disc.
Okay.
If we could just convince you that finding anything that feels good while you think it or focus upon it or do it, if we could just convince you that that is your best work, then everybody around you would start calling you a very selfish person for a while, because they would see you no longer struggling for your reward, no longer striving for it. What are you doing? I'm basking. Well, isn't there something more productive that you could be doing? Esther's thinking about that even as we are giving it to you here. So she walks over into the offices where all of the lovely people are, and no one has their hands on the keyboard. Phones are ringing, no one's answering them. They're all there. What are you doing? Basking. Well, stop it and get to work. There's something more productive you could be doing other than basking? You think I pay you to bask? It would serve her to pay them to bask. Basking. Basking. I'm doing anything I can think of. I'm taking a break. Another one? Haven't you been on a break all morning? I'm on a break from this pressing feeling of responsibility that is preventing me from alignment and keeping me from being the happy and therefore productive employee that you want me to be. In other words, the more basking you encourage, the more joy you encourage, the more happiness you encourage, not only of yourself but of others. Can't encourage it if you're not there. It's a really good conversation, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.